November 14th. It's a regular monthly meeting of the Town Council. Could we all stand, please, and recite the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll get the pledge.
Lisa, could we have a roll call, please?
I don't want to hit you over the head.
Yes. Peter Draffo.
Here.
Dale Macklin.
Here.
Jerry Clarion.
Here.
Ray Herring.
I'm here.
Joseph Gravel.
Here.
Jeff West.
Here.
Lee Trahan.
Here.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes from previous meetings. The one we have available this evening is from September 12th of 2022.
So move.
Second. Any discussion? No discussion. Lisa, roll call?
Peter Draffo.
Yes.
Dale Macklin.
Yes.
Jerry Clarion.
Yes.
Ray Herring.
Yes.
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
Yes.
Passes 7-0. Next item is communications. This evening, there are none to address. Next item is reports of committees and commissions.
Erica?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, esteemed councilors, members of the public, members of our planning board who are joining us tonight for the public hearing. October was a busy month. It seems like they all are, but Lisa and her staff and volunteers had a really busy month with the absentee voting and election preparations. At the time that I had written this report, we had already had more than 1,000 absentee ballots cast. So, and that was back, obviously, for October 31st. So we were really busy. Good to see lots of people getting out to vote, and as always, good work for Lisa and her crew. On October 12th, we had our first meeting in this room for council. I think this room is a actually improved atmosphere for our council meetings. It's a little cozier, a little bit more intimate for dealing with the council. And again, we are looking forward to getting ready to create the extra office space out of the room over at the town office. We can do that now that absentee voting is over, and hopefully Greg Viggia will be starting pretty soon. This space, just to make it 100% clear, since I keep seeing continual talk about it, this space is available still to anybody except for council nights. Lisa began signing it out again last week or the week before. Anybody who would like to use the space is more than welcome to do so. They just have to sign up for it, just like you used to have to sign up for it. And we weren't doing that for quite a while because of COVID. We had not started having sign-ups to use these rooms again until just now. So it is not space that's now unavailable to the public. It is absolutely available to the public as we move forward. I'm excited to report that both I and Councilors Macklin and Trahan were able to attend the grand opening of the Maine Crisp new facility down on Lithgow Street. They've done a wonderful job down there. Karen and Steve Getz and the co-owner Michael Ross put on a fun and informative event. We got to see all of the backdoor workings back there and taste some of the goodies. So it was really good to see that we've got another thriving business moving into Winslow. They're not only going to be adding to our tax base, but they're also going to be producing about 8 more jobs over there. So it's a really good addition. So congratulations to them, and I would also like to congratulate another Winslow-based business, Standard Waterproofing, on their acquisition of New England Fire Protection. So another great addition for a Winslow-based business. In October, the Facilities Committee issued the RFP for the Municipal Facilities Study. Again, this is just a study. This is not to build a new facility, but is to determine the best way forward with the fire department, police department, the current town offices. That study should tell us whether a new facility is feasible, but also whether it's even advisable. So this is the first step in looking at anything that would happen. We do know that we've got to do something with fire department, and this will kind of assess the best way forward for all of that. We did receive 3 proposals back, and the Facilities Committee at the time of this writing was scoring them independently before reconvening as a group to recommend which firm. The committee has chosen a firm, and it's on the agenda tonight for allowance for me to enter into a contract, so we will get to that later. Project updates, the comprehensive plan continues to move along. Every month we're having our meetings to finalize the land use chapters. We're pretty well done with land use as of this last meeting. We'll be reconvening on November 30th, and that should put us at about 90% done on the comprehensive plan. I have no additional information on the junior high environmental study. We are still in a holding panel on that. In personnel news, I would like to welcome our newest employees. Lisa Witham is our new finance clerk up front in the town office. She has no prior experience in municipal, but she's been picking up really quick. She's got a really positive attitude, and she's very helpful with people. So if you stop by the town office and you haven't met her yet, stop by and see Lisa. She's the very first window as you go into the front office. We also have a new children's and programming librarian, Celeste Gleason. Celeste is a writer, a writing mentor, and a creative coach, helping writers learn to stop sabotaging their creative lives. She holds an MFA in creative writing. That's a master's. I'm not sure what the FA is, but I think it's fine arts. It's a master's degree, anyway, in creative writing from Stone Coast, where she studied young adult and popular fiction. So welcome aboard to both Lisa and Celeste. And in sad news, I have to report that our fire chief, Ronald Rodriguez, has resigned effective December 2nd. He's going to be taking the position of fire chief for the town of Skowhegan. So Skowhegan's gain is our loss, unfortunately, but I know he'll do a good job for them over there. Deputy Chief Bolduc will be taking the helm in the interim, and I have every confidence in Deputy Chief Bolduc to be able to take the reins and keep everything moving. So I ask everyone to join me in giving him your support. I am very sad to see Chief Rodriguez leave the town of Winslow. He has left a huge imprint on this town with the ambulance service and overall with bringing the fire service further ahead than it's been, certainly in my tenure, and I believe before my tenure here as well. He had started that ambulance service in the face of many naysayers and individuals who did not believe this would be good for the town. His perseverance in the face of obstacles has benefited Winslow residents possibly more than any other fire chief, and I know our residents feel safer and better served because of it. The proof of this comes in the form of numerous emails and thank you letters from residents who have had the misfortune of needing those services. I wish the chief all the best in Skowhegan, and he will be dearly missed. Just to add a little bit to the end of my report, I did want to take a moment and recognize everyone who was involved in the election. Lisa and her people were here till 1 o'clock. I was here that night too, but not for the election. So I know I was here till 2, so they were here till at least 1. So I wanted to thank the following people for working on the election and all their hours and their dedication. John Chevallard, Sally Harwood, Donna Hevener, Mike Hevener, Terry Lally, Bruce Lambrecht, Hillary Lambrecht, Kim Pierce, Kathy Savitsky, Dot Fogg, Steve Susi, Helen Tutwiler, Tamara Willett, Jolene Burgoyne, Sharon Johnson, our own employees Katie Philbrick, Audra Fleury, Amanda McCaslin, Tanya Gross, for the setup and teardown, which is a lot of work if you haven't recognized what these people do. The Public Works crew. We have Tony Rosignol, Rick Gordon, Travis Ellis, Lee Shuckrow, Nick Shaw, Brad Bessie, and Alan Roy. And from the police department, helping out the day of the event and making sure everything stayed calm and secure, which fortunately we didn't have anything to really keep calm and secure. Everybody was very orderly and polite that day, but we have Detective Vayu, Officer Poulin, and Officer Crawford, as well as Chief McDade. I also know that some firefighters were helping us out towards the end of the evening, bring everything back in. I saw Lieutenant Burgess and firefighters Trulin Preble, Sean, oh my goodness, Stetson. I didn't get an answer back, so I'm reading off it. Sean Stetson and Misha Littlefield. So thank you to everybody who took the time out to work on that. It's incredibly important that we can assure our residents that our elections are fair, that they're secure, that there's nothing untoward or improper going on. And Lisa works incredibly diligently behind the scenes to make sure all that happens. And the people that volunteer on election day or even during the absentee voting process, they also do so out of their own time. For the absentee, we do pay some for that, but most of the people are volunteers. And they also have to face people that might not be very happy with them when they tell them they're doing things that aren't necessarily proper as far as talking in the polls and things like that. So it's another thankless job, but it's really important to the process. So thank you to all of you who participated either at the polls or setting up for the polls or tearing down or just making sure everything stayed safe.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
And I know we have both fire chief and police chief wanting to give things out of their report.
Okay, I just want to add one thing, though, to Erica's report. This came out after Erica had her report and everything. The Lobster Trap Restaurant on Bay Street sold at auction a month ago. The closing was last week. Jeff Dagnall and his wife Kelly, who are from Winslow, bought the restaurant. They own it now. Their intent is lease or operate their own restaurant. One of their big concerns, I know, was cleaning up the place, outside anyway. They did that last weekend. If you notice when you drive by the Lobster Trap now, there's no more weeds growing around it. And those containers are supposed to be removed this week. At some point here, next month or two, they will appear before the council and explain their plans to it for them, but they couldn't make it tonight. I just wanted to add that to Erica's business part of her report. Let me call the chief, or the fire chief first.
I'm not sure that it matters. I know since, let's have fire chief because he had a motion.
Yeah, Chief Rodriguez?
Well, I want to thank the town manager through the chair for the kind words. I really do appreciate it. And as far as it goes with my departure, it was not an easy decision. I have a strong tie to the Winslow community, and it is a bittersweet departure. So I thank you for your kind words. As noted in my report, there have been a lot of things accomplished over the short time that I've been here. And it's with the cooperation from the council and the support from the community that we're able to get these things accomplished. My intent for right now, I know over the last 2 years, I've been reminded that my monthly report has kind of been a boilerplate with one member of our department continues to be steadfast in his pursuit of obtaining the paramedic license. This individual, the original class was interrupted with COVID, and they changed the formatting from in-person to a hybrid online Zoom class format. Not only did he persevere through this, but he sustained a back injury and was unable to attend class. Working with the community college, they were able to allow him the ability to attend the class, audit the class first semester, so he didn't have to necessarily take it over again. But he was there to make sure he's up to speed. And as of, I think it was last Saturday, Lieutenant Rennie obtained his Maine State EMS license. He's licensed now at the paramedic level. So I'd like to recognize Lieutenant Rennie for his efforts. It's not an easy thing to do, and he deserves a lot of credit for sticking to it. In addition, I'd like to recognize Captain Cap. We have every year, with the exception of COVID, of course, the opportunity to enter our schools and put on a fire prevention during Fire Prevention Week, which is historically held the week of October 8th every year. Captain Cap received an anonymous donation of 2 bicycles, one for a boy, one for a girl, excuse me, I guess it's the change in weather. But Captain Cap coordinates the volunteers to go up there every day for a week and give our students lessons on how to stop, drop, and roll, safe evacuation, and Edith practicing, exit drills in the home. So I believe some kudos need to go to him. We did hold drawing, and one, I want to say it's a second grade boy and a kindergarten girl received a bike and helmet for Fire Prevention Week. So I'd like to recognize Captain Cap for his
Very
efforts.
nice.
And I thank the chairman.
It's quick. I had a couple of noteworthy things I just wanted to touch on. I did put it in your packet also more extensively, but one was we had a couple burglaries at Martin's at nighttime, and they were very difficult to catch, but Officer Louvier caught him in the act at nighttime and arrested him. And the work really started at that point. It was pretty much a department effort. Everybody worked together and basically interviewed a lot of people, and the end result was, I'm sure you saw it in the paper, a major drug bust in Somerset County, working with Somerset County and the state police and Maine Drug Enforcement Agency. We recovered almost all the stolen property and a really large amount of drugs. So I just was very happy with how they all worked together, and the paperwork, when you have a major case like this, they just closed it out. It's been over 2 weeks ago, and they're just finishing up the paperwork right now. The other one was Officer Wing hasn't been with this police department very long. I put a letter in your packet from the ADA, Amanda Seekins. He really went way above and beyond working on that case, doing follow-up, and just doing some extra work from years of being a detective, where the person got quite an extensive amount of time in prison from the work he did. So I just want to make sure I thank them for their hard work. Thank you.
Chief, you mentioned your letter that we have. I don't know if anybody in the public has it, or we can put it on the website, but I want to read something that goes to the dedication of not only our police chief and our firefighters on what they do in the job that we hardly ever hear about. And this says, Mr. Wing was given late notice of a court date due to the defense requesting a hearing just a few days before the court date. I know that he had personal plans. However, he still showed up to court in a professional manner, prepared for a hearing. I appreciate his cooperation and willingness to be there, even at the expense of his own time off. I think that certainly goes to the dedication of the folks we have working in fire and police.
Thank you.
Paul? Does he have anything? Let's see here. Okay, exciting. Nothing, Paul? Till later, okay. Yeah. Judy, you're not here?
No.
Okay. Mr. Tippetod, I will not forget you this week, this month.
Just a few things. Parent-teacher conferences just wrapped up. It's hard to believe that we have completed the first quarter of another school year, but that's where we are. Things have gone exceptionally well. You mentioned Captain Cap. Thank you. Thank you for the fire department for over and working with our students to help our students stay safe during those situations. We appreciate what you do every single year. That's another example of the departments in the town working closely with the schools to make it a safe place for our students. We appreciate all that everybody does. We're finishing up a very successful fall sports season, if you've been following that at all. The boys soccer team made it all the way to the Northern Maine Championship game. They didn't win that game, but they had an outstanding, tremendous season with their athletes. Very, very proud of them. Another group that we're very proud of is the football team. They didn't make it to the championship game, but they received another accolade, which is perhaps just as important. And that accolade is to Coach Littlefield, Wes Littlefield. He's named the 2022 Class C Sportsmanship Award winner, which is voted on by the peer coaches. It's quite the honor to have that. because it's an example of how you are working with the students that you are coaching, working with, preparing them for the greater lessons in life. And I've always said to folks, you know, people are going to forget names, dates, who scored what touchdown on what play on what year, but they're never going to forget how you made them feel, whether that's good or bad. You always remember how somebody makes you feel. So last Saturday at the state siege championship game, Coach Littlefield was invited with his captains to receive the award. We decided on sending a bus so that any student on that team could be involved in that, because it's a team effort with everything else they've done for the entire year. So we're very proud of that. The other piece that I wanted to, yeah, we did. Yeah. The other thing that I just wanted to quickly mention to you, schools recently received some non-competitive grants that we filled out some applications for, because we thought what they were offering grants for was a good piece. One of them was a computer science mobile carts. These are $45,000 grants for computer science mobile carts. There was $5,000 per 100 students. We were eligible for 9 kits. Our elementary school will receive 5 Spiro kits. Our junior and high school will receive 4 Lego Spike kits. With these kits, our students can learn core computer concepts, dig into computational thinking, and explore computer coding. So this is something that's a great opportunity for our kids that we perhaps wouldn't otherwise have it. We also qualified and applied for homeless children grant. We received $15,506 for that particular grant. You may or not know this, but we have 29 students in Winslow that qualify for under McKinney-Vento, which is the Homeless Act. Those funds can be used for a wide range of supports for our students, either barriers in them coming to school, providing for special tutoring or mentoring, purchases of supplies, things that they might need that would be barriers for them not being able to attend. The other piece, the other grant that we applied for and received was a multilingual learners grant, our ESOL students. We currently have around 13 students, English language learners. And with this particular grant, we're going to be able to look at our application process and be able to translate those grants, making their experience at Winslow a much better experience. The annual craft fair was held at the elementary school this past Saturday. We had quite a few people attend. Update on a construction project at the elementary school. Things are going exceptionally well. I invite you to go to the website, the public school website, look at the pictures. We try to post updates there on a regular basis. And last but not least, we've been approved to use some of our CARES funding to build a storage facility, building. Storage is at a premium for us. We don't know what's going to happen, of course, with storage at the old junior high school. We were able to qualify for this particular structure, still under the CARES fund and the social distancing, because it requires us to remove some of the things in some of our existing space in the building, allowing for more space. So that qualified underneath that particular grant. This will be a 3-sided cold storage building built off the back of the existing maintenance garage to store a lot of our PE equipment for kids who are outside and other things that we need storage for. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. No further department reports?
I make a motion that we accept all department reports. Second.
No discussion, Lisa, roll call.
Peter Drappo.
Yes.
Dale Macklin.
Yes.
Jerry Clarion.
Yes.
Ray Perry.
Yes.
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
Yes.
Those passed 7-0. Our next item on the agenda is public comment. We do have a letter. Did you want to do the letter first, or did you want to address the crowd first?
Let's do the letter first, Lisa.
Okay, the letter is from Bill Pally. It was received October 31st of this year. It says, "Dear members, this morning I had a very constructive conversation with your town manager, Erica LaCroix. As we all know, many of our elderly neighbors will need fuel assistance this winter. They also struggle with prescription medication costs, high food costs, and other expenses. I would like to propose the proceeds from the sale of 21 Hollowell Street in Winslow, Maine, be used for a special fuel assistance program for those 65 years and older who require assistance. The thought of people freezing to death in their homes in Maine this winter is abhorrent. It is unavoidable. So many homes require number 2 heating oil in order to heat them. Of course, it is very expensive, and there is really no alternative for this population to switch to alternative heating systems. If you decide to move forward with this program, it is very important for everyone to remember that they need to be in contact with their elderly neighbors, checking on them and understanding their needs. Only this way can this program be successful. Best regards for a safe winter, WP Investor.
Thank you, Lisa. I've just been informed that we have another one online.
Yes, actually, it's in response to that letter being posted with the agenda from Jean Saunders. We've spoken to Jean a few times on various issues. She's a Patty Pond part-year resident. She said, I wanted to offer my assistance both as a taxpayer of the town of Winslow and as a summer resident. I see on the agenda tonight there is public comment about a letter regarding elderly assistance. I do not know the substance of the letter, but wanted to offer that should the town of Winslow be interested in learning more about becoming a member of the Age-Friendly Network. I'm very sorry. I just had a problem with my computer. Age-Friendly Network of Maine, I would be happy to provide assistance in making those connections. Maine has been deemed an age-friendly state and has over 85 communities across the state that are part of this network. I have worked with the city of Saco since 2016 as a volunteer to make Saco a more livable community for all. We are a group of volunteers whose mission is to help our older residents stay in their homes as they age by removing obstacles as well as providing services to help them age in place. You can see more about Age-Friendly Saco on our website, agefriendlysaco.org. I am a huge advocate of being a member of this network as we share ideas, have a resource directory available, as well as a host of other services/programs and supports. Let me know if I can be of any assistance by making any e-introductions for any interested parties. Regards, Jean Saunders, Executive Director, Age-Friendly Saco.
That's it for the written ones. At this point in our meeting, we have a public comment session. Public comment is where any member of the public can speak on any issue that is not on tonight's agenda. If it's on the agenda, we'll get to that when that item comes up on the agenda. You have 3 minutes to speak on a town-related issue that's not on the agenda. Is there anybody who would like to have a public comment on any item not on our agenda tonight? Seeing none, we will close the portion of the public comment.
Okay, our next item on the agenda is,
Lisa, before we go further,
Sure.
I'm going to move that we take item number 8 under new business out of order so
okay,
we can dispose of that.
Need a second?
I'll second.
Need a show of hands?
so it was Dale, who was the second?
I was.
Ray was the second.
Thank you.
You don't have to nominate.
No,
We'll do this by a show of hands. All those in favor? It's unanimous.
I'd like to revoke my sponsorship of this.
Okay.
Whereas it is being, which word did you use, Lisa?
So he's,
Revoke the sponsorship.
yep,
That article, that item is off the agenda for tonight.
okay, sorry, I'm writing.
No, you got all the time you need.
Okay, so that brings us back to tabled business. Item is ordinance number 14-2022, providing for an amendment to the Winslow zoning map to rezone the following lot on tax map 15, lot 12, located at 120 Augusta Road from high-density residential to mixed use.
So moved.
Yeah, you gotta take that from the table, Jerry.
Sorry. Make a motion.
I
I make a motion, we remove it from the table. Second?
And roll call.
roll call.
Peter Drappo.
Yes.
Dale Macklin.
Yes.
Jerry Querian.
Yes.
Ray Care.
Yes.
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
Yes.
7-0.
This item is on the agenda tonight for a public hearing only. There will be no vote by the council tonight. This will, after the public hearing, go back to the planning board to do what they do with zoning change requests. Is there anybody here from the public who would like to speak on this agenda item?
Is that 120 Augusta Road?
Yes,
Yes.
yes. You please state your name, sir,
So,
and
I'm
your
Adam Lowell.
address, and you have 5 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, my name's
Excuse
Adam
me,
Lowell.
sir. Could you-
With all the different things that,
Your name again?
Adam Lowell,
Okay.
with all the other things that you guys are talking about tonight, all public service and everything, this is such a small issue. I feel almost foolish being here, but 120 Augusta Road, this building has been a commercial building for as long as I've known, back to the late 70s, early 80s. Started off as Whipper's Pizza, I'm sure a lot of you guys remember all of that. It then became a bagel shop and a doctor's office, and I started Main Technology Group out of that 10 or 11 years ago, and subsequently had sold it off to the new owners who have now outgrown the space, and they're looking to move. And as I'm looking for new tenants to come in, I was actually quite surprised to find out that it was, zoned as a high-density residential. So I'm hoping that, understanding the use of the building, the way it's designed, it's a very high-end commercial build-out on the interior. I don't know if you, I'm sure some of you in the room are familiar with Zach Chopper from Chopper Construction, but he did an unbelievable job on the remodel in that place. It's move-in ready, and the Main Technology Group who is there now, they just desperately need more space. They've grown and done a good job, and so they're looking to move by the end of December. So as I'm looking for a new tenant, I just want to make sure that zoning isn't an issue when I'm looking to go ahead and either bring somebody in to lease, to continue leasing the building, or, this day and age, a lot of folks would prefer to own their own building. So whether I'm selling or leasing, that's kind of where I'm at. Any thoughts, comments, questions?
I can attest that since I was that tall, that was a pizza shop. That was a lot of years ago. So it's always been a commercial lot.
Yeah. So it's built for commercial use, and that's the way it's gonna perform. Built well for it. So I hope you guys will agree and be the mixed use zoning. But thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your comments, sir.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Adam.
Is there anybody else from the public who would like to speak on this issue? There being none, we will close this portion of the public hearing.
Table again until pending
Okay.
planning board.
And I will move to table this again pending return to us from the planning board.
Second. Jeff seconded.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Roll call.
Peter Drappo.
Yes.
Dale Macklin.
Yes.
Jerry Querian.
Yes.
Ray Care.
Yes.
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
Yes.
The table passes 7-0. Next item. Is old business. Ordinance number 15-2022, providing for the amendment of ordinance number 4-2002, the administration of general assistance.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? No discussion, Lisa, roll call?
Peter Drappo?
Yes.
Dale Macklin?
Yes.
Jerry Querian?
Yes.
Ray Perry?
Yes.
Joseph Gravel?
Yes.
Jeff West?
Yes.
Lee Trahan?
Yes.
Passes 7-0. Next item is ordinance number 16-2022, providing for an amendment to ordinance number 04-2021, Agriculture Commission Procedures Number 1 with a change in language.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Again, let me make the point, I guess I missed it these first two. Anybody from the public who wants to comment on these items can. So just raise your hand when Lisa is done reading, and we'll let you have your time.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Peter Drappo?
Yes.
Dale Macklin?
Yes.
Jerry Querian?
Yes.
Ray Perry?
Yes.
Joseph Gravel? Jeff West?
Yes.
Lee Trahan?
Yes.
Passes 7-0. Next item up is ordinance number 17-2022, providing for an amendment to the library trustees ordinance with a change in language to section 18-23, purpose, and section 18-30, letter H.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Lisa, roll call.
Peter Drappo?
Yes.
Dale Macklin?
Yes.
Jerry Querian?
Yes.
Ray Perry?
Yes.
Joseph Gravel?
Yes.
Jeff West?
Yes.
Lee Trahan?
Yes.
Passes 7-0. Next item is ordinance number 18-2022, providing for the town of Winslow to approve an ordinance for property maintenance.
So moved. Second.
Is there any member from the public who would like to speak on this ordinance change? Ordinance adoption? There being none, any discussion among the council?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Ron.
I'd like to make an amendment to this ordinance. The amendment I'd like to make is the grass height maintenance standard shall apply to properties in the following areas of the town of Winslow. Beginning at the Winslow Waterville Bridge, heading north along the east side of the Kennebec River to the Winslow-Benton line, town line. Then east along the Winslow-Benton town line to the Spastacook River. Then south following the west side of the Spastacook River. Then continuing along the south-west side of the outlet stream, commonly known as Mile Brook, to the north side of Veteran Drive. Then west along the north side of Veteran Drive and Dunbar Road to the intersection of the Augusta Road and Carter Memorial Drive. Then continue west to Kennebec River's east side, then north along the Kennebec River to the Winslow Waterville Bridge. In addition to the outlying region, all properties along both sides of the entire length of the Augusta Road to the Winslow-Vassabro town line would be included in this. And this would exempt the grass ordinance to this area.
I'm just gonna try to make this just a little simpler with that. Unfortunately, sometimes we have to put all these directions and stuff in there. Basically, what this means is that for the grass height portion of this ordinance, it goes the entire length of Benton Avenue to the town line, then cuts across to, then Clinton Avenue to the town line, Clinton Avenue, and that line cuts across. Then it goes down to the Spastacook River, follows the river to where Miles Brook comes in, which is basically the bridge, first bridge on the Garland Road, going out the Garland Road. Then on the China Road, following that Miles Brook, to the first bridge right after Kim Carter's shop. Then Veterans Drive, the entire length of Veterans Drive, all the way to the Augusta Road, and then down to the river, and then all the way out the Augusta Road. Everything inside those will be subject to the grass portions of the ordinance. Anything outside of that will not. Any more discussion?
I guess then beginning at the Waterville Winslow Bridge, heading north along the east side of the Kennebec River to the Winslow. So all the way from the bridge, all the way to the Benton town line could be
Correct.
exempt?
No,
Or would
no,
be part of?
part
Will be part of.
Okay, okay, that's all I need to
Yeah,
know. Okay.
Haywood Road, Benton line.
Yep, okay, okay.
All other provisions that were in the proposed ordinance will be applied townwide.
So basically what you're saying is what, I see one side is there's no height limit. And on the inside of that box, there's a height limit. What is the height limit?
It's in the maintenance.
10 inches is the proposed ordinance.
Right there. 10 inches for residential property, 6 inches for commercial.
Any further discussion?
Somebody's gonna second the
Somebody first, somebody,
Yeah.
who first?
Rocky, I'll second it. Lisa, we're ready for a roll call
So roll call on the amendment first.
on the amendment first.
Peter Drapo.
Yes.
Dale Macklin.
Yes.
Jerry Clarion.
No?
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
Yes.
Passes 6-1 for the amendment.
And a roll call on the proposed ordinance as amended.
Peter Drapo.
Yes.
Dale Macklin.
Yes.
Jerry Clarion.
No?
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
Yes.
Passes 6-1. Next item on the agenda is order number 26-2022, providing for authorization for the Public Works Director to spend up to $8 million for upgrades to the Chaffee Brook Pump Station, with grant funding of $1 million in earmarked funds and $200,000 in state revolving funds that will lower the amount to borrow to $6.8 million.
So move.
Second.
Is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak on this item? Any discussion among the council? Lisa, roll call?
Peter Drapo.
Yes.
Dale Macklin.
Yes?
Jerry Clarion.
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
Yes.
Order number 26 passes 7-0. Next item is new business. Ordinance number 19-2022, establishment of the Winslow Public Safety Department.
So moved.
Second.
Who was the second?
Me.
Thank you, Barry, sorry.
Not a problem.
The establishment of the Public Safety Department is something that's come up since the fire chief resigned. And reading and hearing and listening to people, there's been a lot of confusion on exactly what the Public Safety Department would be. Erica could take a few minutes and explain what the Public Safety Department would be if approved.
Okay. So, the Public Safety Department is still the fire department, still the police department, but it has a new director at the top level. The function of the Public Safety Director is not to run the day-to-day operations of either department. The structure would be such that there is a deputy fire chief and a deputy police chief. Those deputies are charged with the day-to-day operations of running both police and fire. They are the subject matter experts in their own fields. There's a lot of worry on the downside that creation of a public safety department results in one department necessarily being favored by the other, depending on who ends up in that director chair, whether that person have a background in police or whether that person have a background in fire. Fear is the other department will suffer for that. Kind of the redheaded stepchild syndrome, if you will. And I can see how that's a possibility, and I can also understand why the fear is out there, and I know that there are places in which that has happened. My take on that is that that is prevented by strong leadership at my level, which prevents that from happening and ensures both departments get to maintain their status, their structure, and both get treated completely equally. That's my job. The pluses and the reasoning for this coming forward, there's several. On the budget side, we would be eliminating one department head. It would mean that we need to create a deputy police chief that we don't already have. However, we would be eliminating the lieutenant. So that's kind of a wash there, given that the lieutenant currently earns overtime and a deputy chief would not. So those are roughly equivalent. The deputy chief in fire would still be the deputy chief in fire. However, the responsibility is higher than what we currently have in the job description, and so there would be some wage adjustment going on there to compensate for the increased responsibility. But we would not have separate police and fire chiefs. We would only have one department director. Therefore, we eliminate a department head salary. The rough estimate is approximately $100,000 a year, given a position plus benefits. And taking into account the other salary adjustments we would have to do for the two deputies. So there's the monetary reason behind it. The other advantages to having a public safety department, which is not, you've got to keep in mind, it's not an advantage in every situation. Towns in the mid to small size can benefit because it allows a sharing of resources. It allows combined training. There are some efficiencies to be had when it comes to the way that the two departments interact together, conducting dual training exercises when it comes to emergency responses, tabletop exercises, things like we just went through the exercise of creating the emergency plan for the schools. Coordinating those efforts to get training done for both departments becomes a little bit easier. Shared space, which we're already looking at for police and fire as a possibility with a new facility, means that we do not need two completely separate buildings. We have shared locker room space. We have shared common space in terms of kitchens, housing, all of that type of stuff. So there's some efficiencies to be gained there. Another thing that's not quite so obvious that might not have been thought of is that there is more grant money available to public safety departments than there is available to individual fire and police departments. So it opens up some additional funding sources that we don't currently have open to us right now. Do we know that this is going to be the best option going forward? No, we do not. That's why we're looking at, we have to pass this as an ordinance, but we're looking at it as a 6-month trial period. At the end of 6 months or sooner, if it appears to be a problem, that ordinance can be repealed by action of the council and we go back to having our existing structure of separate police and fire. We will not be making any changes to personnel in the interim other than Deputy Chief Bolduc does become the interim fire chief regardless because we don't have a fire chief right now. So he will still get moved up to that position right away because he's going to have that responsibility on his shoulders regardless of where we end up in 6 months right now. So there's, again, there are pluses and minuses to consider. We don't have all the answers. There is more work to be done in terms of seeing how this works as we lay it out. Are there pitfalls we didn't think of? Are we finding things don't work, or are we finding things mostly work but we could do a little tweak here and there to make it better? Or is it something we should abandon altogether? So that's kind of where we're at tonight with discussing the creation of this department. But it does not mean that police and fire lose their autonomy. The function of the director of public safety is not to, again, run the departments. That person basically has 3 primary functions and they're all administrative. That function is budgeting, personnel and policy. So that's what that person's there for, not to walk in and as a police chief try to run a fire department or as a fire chief try to run a police department. That's not what the intent of this is. So that's just by way of clarification.
Thank you, Erica. Excuse me, Jerry, I'm gonna back up a second. I wanted to get that out there first, to get some information out there. There is a public hearing on this tonight. Any member of the public who wants to speak on this is entitled to. Is there any member of the public who would like to speak on this issue? There being a few, you have 5 minutes. State your name and your address.
Hi, my name is Fran.
If you would, go to the
Yep.
podium.
Hello, my name is Fran Hudson. I guess after speaking, I'm a little more confused than I was before I came in. After you spoke, I apologize. You said there's 3 functions to hiring a new position at more money, and all of the functions you named are already being done by the chiefs we already have. I understand the chief is leaving, so you're not gonna have to hire another chief, but this one person, and then you said it was after he resigned, and then it was posted in the paper not even a week after, so this had to have come up pretty quick. Or it was thought of or discussed prior to. How do you come up with all of this in a week? Who brought it up? I'm just confused where it came from. I'm just gonna say that a fire department and a police department are 2 different entities. Everybody who's in EMS knows that. Every firefighter wants to climb the ladder someday to maybe become chief. Every police officer wants to do the same thing, climb the ladder, maybe become chief, maybe not. But that's how it usually works. You're taking away the 2 that all of these police officers and firefighters respect. They're chiefs. And you still don't even know if it's gonna work. You don't know if it's a good idea, or you haven't given very many. Because it seems to work fine with the chiefs budgeting, hiring, and the 3rd thing you mentioned. So I don't understand. My other problem would be, where are you gonna put them? We're here tonight. There's no space. Where's this department going? Is it not going to start until the new building is built? Where are they gonna go? Where's she gonna go? Doesn't make a lot of sense to me, and it kind of makes me worried because it's my tax money that's gonna be paying for a lot of it. You think you're saving money, you're eliminating 2 positions, you're hiring 3. They don't make, yeah, you are. Deputy Scott Balding, was he put in place for this? Why was he put in place? Why was his position? Because the chief needed help with all of the day-to-day stuff with the ambulance service, maybe? So can this one safety director do it? Is he gonna have the experience, or she? Will they know both fire and PD police work well to be able to make those decisions on hiring, budgets, and all of that? Because I don't think you're gonna hire someone for $100,000 for that. It's gonna take some education. So I guess that's just all I have to say. And I do want to say one more thing. I respect the chief. The town is losing something very, very, very vital. Okay?
So I'm sorry, but basically everything I just said was kind of ignored. We are eliminating a position. Lieutenant goes away in the police department. That's where the deputy chief, we're not creating a new position, we're just changing the position we've already got. And again, it will not cost more money because the current lieutenant makes overtime and actually will clear well more than the salary for this position will be this year.
You're getting rid of a lieutenant.
Yes.
All right, so that's another position.
So that's where the deputy chief comes from. And part of the reason for that is you cannot have a union member run a department. That's conflict of interest at every level. Cannot happen. As far as what the knowing police and fire, no, they don't have to know both police and fire. They have to know how to be an administrator. I don't know police and fire, but ultimately, whatever they want to do lands on my desk, and I make the decision. Am I trained in either one as a law enforcement officer or as a firefighter? Or as an EMS person? No, I am not. I am a professional administrator.
Who hires? Who's going to hire?
So fire hires for fire, but it has to be approved at the top level.
Who may not have any experience in it.
In reality, have you ever, it's like when I got hired, okay? There was a committee to hire me. At any point, it could have been rejected because there's an overseeing body that says, no, that person's not okay. But in reality, the recommendation of the committee is generally taken. It is very rare, and again, I get to hire right now. They don't get to hire anyone without my rubber stamp, period.
But
This
who
is
did you
no
trust to
different.
do it? Who did you trust to bring it to you, to hire that person?
I would trust Deputy Chief Bolduc exactly like I do right
I
now.
understand that. I'm
And I-
talking for a fire
Time.
or
We-
police.
Okay, that's 5 minutes. Is there anybody else who would like to speak on the issue? Yes, sir. Do you please state your name, sir, and your address?
Pearlie LaChance, 104 Halifax Street, right down the street from me. I first heard about this through the Winslow rumor mill. You probably have heard of that. And my first reaction was, because of my training background, I spent 20 years in training people. 10 of those years was with the community colleges, all 7 colleges, doing the registered apprenticeship program. And in the registered apprenticeship program, we have curriculums for fire, police, you name it, electricians, plumbers. And it sounds like a great idea, having this person overseeing. But the background that is needed to be a fireman is so different than being a policeman. And while I have the mic, I'd like to say that we use the ambulance service in our family 3 times this year. And those people are so highly qualified. I was surprised and impressed by their qualifications. And so I still recommend that they answer to a chief that is in their specialty. I'm willing to answer any question you might have, but 20 years of experience, you just can't take that for granted. It's a very different feel, and you respect all the different occupations and trades that are out there. So that's my comment.
Thank you, Mr. LaChance. Is there any other member of the public who would like to speak on this issue? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing portion of this ordinance. Discussion among the council. Yes, Ray.
Well, when I first heard, I haven't talked to a lot of people about it. I haven't really vetted it a lot myself. It's a really due item on our agenda. I will say this, my initial thoughts were that, and I have to agree with some of the people that spoke, is that there's 2 different disciplines for fire and for chief. I don't know whoever we hired, whether they could handle police seed. They'd have to be able to handle police seed and then a fire seed in some respects. I know that's not the case that people are saying, but in the town of Winslow with 8,000 people, I sometimes wonder whether a public safety officer would be for a city the size of 50,000 to 100,000, where that would make more sense, where there's more administrative duties that person could have. I also look back 5 years ago is when we had a part-time fire chief, and at the time we didn't even have an ambulance service, and even at that time that fire chief was pretty out straight half the time in Waterville, half the time in Winslow, and I don't think we were fulfilling the needs of the fire department, and maybe I'm wrong here, but now we're taking a public officer, and they're gonna be splitting their time between fire and police. I guess I just have some questions, and those are my concerns right now. I'm willing to vote yes to move it along into further discussion, but at this point in time, those are some of my concerns. And
Anybody else? Rocky?
Yeah, having been a firefighter for almost 40 years, definitely the two disciplines have a lot of differences, but there is similarities also. And in a small town like this, going through, when I was in the service, we would all work together. We kind of had the feel of each other's departments. And so I think our size town is like maybe the perfect town to try this. And like Erica said, this is a trial for 6 months. This is not cast in stone, and I think this is the perfect opportunity to try it. You know, I agree with a lot what Ray said. I mean, I definitely can understand. Mrs. Hudson, same thing. I totally agree with what you're commenting, but where we have a 6-month period that we can try it, this is the best time to do it, I feel. So that's mine. In 6 months, we'll look at it. If it's not working out, then I'll be the first to say, let's go back to the chief in each department. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Jerry, did you have something?
Yes. It's neither for or against, but I'd like to have a monthly report for those first 6 months. Because if we wait 6 months, a lot of stuff is gonna fall by the wayside. If we have a monthly, it doesn't have to be very long.
I think, Jerry, not to interrupt Jerry, but I think there will still be a monthly report coming out of that department during the first 6 months. Same as we get now. I'm assuming it's gonna be more in-depth, maybe a little bit, but we will get a monthly report.
You'd still have individual reports from police and fire, but they would be fed through public safety director
Yeah.
and with their cover on top of that for whatever
Mhm.
additional information they had to add.
Mhm.
And yes, I agree totally. We need to be monitoring it month to month to see
Yes.
if it's performing or not.
If we don't monitor it, you know, we're gonna be lost.
Yep.
Anybody else? Peter?
I think some people are misunderstanding this whole concept. What we're looking to do is what most companies do in today's day and age. Erica is explaining that the fire department will have a deputy chief who will run that department on a daily basis, do the hiring, do the firing, do all of the duties the chief does right now. Police department will have a deputy chief doing all of the duties that the chief does right now. What we will have is an administrator that will deal with all budgeting items, all upper personnel issues, and a buffer between those departments and the and the town manager. This works right now in a handful of communities in the state of Maine. This is the future. We can sit back and say, no, we need a fire chief, we need a police chief. It's always been that way, and that's the way it has to stay. That's not progress, people. Let's move forward. Let's work together. I've been in this community since 1983. I've been in business for myself since 1983. And I've always combined departments. It's always worked well with the right leadership and with the right people willing to understand and try. And that's what this is going to take. It's the same as a principal and a superintendent. The principals are in charge of those particular schools. The superintendent is in charge of all the principals. He is the liaison between the town and the school department. Am I right or wrong, Peter? So how long has this worked? A long time. It's just a case that we've got to shift gears, we've got to think differently, and we've got to move forward. The only reason I got on this council 2 years ago was to move forward. And I will not sit back and listen to it's got to stay status quo. Thank you.
Anybody else? Jeff or Lee?
I'm gonna throw a monkey wrench in the thing.
You go ahead, Jerry.
One time, we were looking at trying to combine the fire department, not with Winslow's PD, call it a safety department, but call it a safety district. That would include other communities, Fairfield, Oakland, Winslow. That never went anyplace. And I'm not saying that should be done or shouldn't be done. Those are other ideas. I'm all through.
Okay, thank you, Jerry. My thoughts on this are this. I think it'll take a little about what Ray said, that years and years and years ago, of course, we started out with probably, it was an all-volunteer fire department. Then it went up to a part-time fire chief. Then we went to a full-time fire chief with EMS services. Over the period of how many years that was, Winslow grew, things got bigger, different needs came up. And we adapted each time to that by increasing in these stages. I think we might be at that time again where a public safety department may be effective for this town. The key, of course, is going to be the people involved in those three big positions. The fire chief, or the deputy fire chief, or the deputy police chief, is like Erica and Peter tried to explain. The intent is that those two chiefs, deputy chiefs, will basically run the day-to-day operations of that department, whoever they may be, with an administrator above them. I have total confidence that with the right people in those positions, that this is at least worth a try. It works out, we'll evaluate it every month, and believe me, we will. If it works out, okay. If it doesn't, after a 6-month trial period, or we'll see where we sit after 6 months, I would be the first to say we go back to a full-time fire chief. The cost savings is going to be there with the 2 deputy chiefs and the public safety director without a department head. That's pretty much a given. And the amount of that savings is going to depend on salaries for those 3 positions and adding a few other things on. So there is some savings that way. The people we have working now for our police department and our fire department, I think most people agree, they're exceptional people, they're good people. We have good people in those positions. And I don't see why that can't continue. And you get the right leadership in there at those 3 positions, and those guys are gonna do their job. I feel confident in that. I get very, very little negative feedback on the performance of our police department or our fire department. And that should continue. And I think we expect it to continue with this public safety department. In fact, it could even get better if it works out with the right people, taking those administrative duties away from a deputy chief, and he can concentrate more on the day-to-day firefighting, EMS, police and operations. And I think it's time that we can try this move. And I will offer this, Fran, I've never met you, I know about you through your Facebook things. Anytime you want to sit down and discuss these issues, with any member of the council, and I'll include myself in that certainly, to clarify some of these things, we're more than happy to do it.
Thank you.
My number is, I can give it to you before we leave.
I've got all your numbers.
I'm sure you probably do. But we can sit down and discuss this.
Thank you.
I have no problem with that, and I'm sure Erica doesn't, and I don't think any member of this council has a problem with it.
Well, it almost sounds we don't need to discuss it because you've all made up your mind.
We may have, one thing you gotta understand, in this job as counselor, and it is a job, how are we expected to make decisions working in this council chambers 1.5 hours a month? It can't be done.
No, that's why.
So we have to talk outside, and we do, as long as we don't
Talk outside
violate,
what? I'm sorry, I missed that.
as long as we don't violate the Freedom of Access Act.
You talk outside where, though?
People's houses, on the phone,
The
restaurants,
councilmen do?
sure we do. Sure we do.
Is that how this idea came up?
No, no,
Okay.
no, no.
And maybe for clarification, I don't think you mean that a group of counselors is meeting together.
Oh, no,
to
no,
have
no,
discussions.
no, no,
Okay,
no,
that-
no, no,
Okay.
no. We meet one-on-one with each other, at houses, restaurants, out to lunch.
So two people can meet together, is that, I don't understand.
Three
that.
people can meet together. Three of us can meet together,
Okay,
Generally try to keep it to two.
yeah.
3 can meet, it's gotta be a quorum. We've got that verified.
Yeah, but
Basically, it's a quorum,
As
it's
long
a
as it's
quorum
not a
of the
committee.
council meets at some place other than in this chambers after a publicly announced meeting. That constitutes a violation of the Freedom of Access Act.
so if you were to bring this up with one other council person, then that council person can go to that one, and that, we could all have this decided before the meeting, that's what you're saying?
We can, yes.
Okay.
No, we don't decide, the votes are here tonight.
Right.
But we will
You
discuss
Discuss
it.
it all before you present
We
it.
will
at the
discuss
council
every, we
meeting.
try to.
Okay,
We cannot possibly do that in an hour and a half's time, sitting here once a month.
right,
It can't get done,
right.
or nothing would get done.
Mhm.
So, that's my thoughts on it anyway. Any further discussion?
Just one thing really quick is, I'm sure that my questions and my concerns of these are not a concern that these things have not come up and have been discussed. Erica, I was an insult on my part to you to say that I'm sure this has been discussed among the department heads, and this is the best, what they feel is the best way to proceed as far as the town of Winslow goes with a safety officer. So I just wanted to clarify that, is that I haven't had a lot of discussions with any of the councils on this particular issue. And one thing I try to do is I try to listen to what the public says, and then I try to ask the questions myself to the people that are involved in the fire department and police department. I haven't done that yet, and I feel that that's needed as far as, even through Erica, to educate me onto why we're trying to do this. And those are my concerns, and those are the public's concerns also, and they need to be addressed. And hopefully I will get the answers, to my questions, and then I'll make my decision at that point in time. And I will talk to other councilors. A lot of councilors here have direct knowledge of the fire department. They've worked for the fire department, and even some of the chiefs and the people in the departments I need to ask. That's all. That's it.
Any further discussion? No further discussion. Lisa, we're ready to take a roll call on the first reading.
Peter Drappo.
Yes.
Dale Macklin.
Yes.
Jerry Quirian.
I'll vote yes for now.
Ray Carey.
Yes.
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
Yes.
First reading passes 7-0. Let's see, next item on the agenda is order number 27-2022, providing for authorization for the town manager to enter into a contract with Haley Ward to perform a municipal facility study at a cost not to exceed $49,000 with funds allocated in the town office, fire facility, and police facility capital line items in the fiscal year 2023 budget.
So moved. Second.
Is there any member from the public who would like to speak on this issue? There being none, council discussion, any discussion among the council? There being no discussion, Lisa, roll call?
Peter Drapo?
Yes.
Dale Macklin?
Yes.
Jerry Clarion?
Yes.
Ray Karen?
Yes.
Joseph Gravel?
Yes.
Jeff West?
Yes.
Lee Trahan?
Yes.
First reading passes 7-0. Order number 28-2022, providing for authorization for the Public Works Director to sign the attached revised letter of agreement with Dirigo Engineering for design engineering services for the Cushman Road and Robert Street Storm Water and Sewer Project.
So move.
Second.
Is there any member from the public who would like to speak on this issue? There being none, council discussion? There being none, Lisa, roll call?
Peter Drapo?
Yes.
Dale Macklin?
Yes.
Jerry Clarion?
Yes.
Ray Karen?
Yes.
Joseph Gravel?
Yes.
Jeff West?
Yes.
Lee Trahan?
Yes.
Passes 7-0. Next item on the agenda is order number 29-2022, providing for authorization for the town manager to purchase property abutting the Winslow Elementary School, identified as tax map 19, lot 27 from Kennebec River Development Park, hereinafter referred to as KRDP, for the sum of $80,000.
So moved.
Second.
Any member from the public who would like to speak on this issue? There being,
Yes, I'd like to know, my name's Mike Joseph. I'd like to know
you
why.
want to come up to the podium, please?
Yeah, my name's Mike Joseph. I want to know why we have to spend $80,000 for this parking lot to park buses, or is this for another community building? I'm asking any of you, can you answer that?
Actually, Peter Tivitat is here, and I would defer to Peter to describe exactly how we use that lot. It is not to just park buses, and we had discussions and deemed that this would be a detrimental loss to school operations should we lose access, because it is our parent-child pickup drop-off area. They also have another offer on the table, and we're giving the town first right of refusal. The concern is that depending on who might purchase that property, the school might lose all access to that area, and it is abutting school property. So it kind of sits, we don't know what, because they wouldn't disclose to us who the other offer was from in that area. KRDP is Martin's. They have allowed the school to use this property for the better part of 20 years,
22 years.
Okay, so it's been free of charge. The fair market value on that property, if it were to be sold on the open market, is probably considerably higher than what they're asking the town to pay to keep that property. Peter, could you please describe how your operations would be impacted with the loss of that property?
Well, like you said, Eric, I think for the past 15 years, 9 years I've been as an assistant, well, I should say 5 years as superintendent. That parking lot is used, at an event this past weekend, parents parked there. There's parking, they use it for parking. We do have buses parked there, but it's not just for buses to be parked there, it's safety as well. If we have to evacuate the buses out there, we have people who can quickly get into the buses and evacuate the students if we needed to do that. So that is another portion of that. You've got parent drop-off. We have more and more parents bringing in students to school. We have parent drop-off in that particular parking lot, keeps the traffic flowing. If you've been by that street in the morning, a lot of people are upset. There's a lot of congestion, a lot of traffic there. If you remove that, then that's more congestion, more traffic flowing in. Somebody mentioned that it abuts the school property. It does. We don't know what's going to go in there. If it's going to be something that's going to be safe, not safe for school children around. We don't know. We've been working with the fire and the police on safety plans. If we evacuate students, one of the places where it's a rendezvous point would be in that parking lot, because it's a place that students can walk to safely to to be evacuated if we had a situation. So those are some of the reasons why the school would be a good piece for the school to continue to be able to access the units.
All right, so it's not for a community center down the road. It's for the access for the school. Okay,
Total school use right now. Nothing else has come up in anything.
okay, thank you.
Any other member of the public like to speak? There being none, members of the council? There being none, Lisa?
No.
Jerry?
Yes, I got a dumb question again.
Nothing's dumb in here, Jerry.
The question is, right now, we have a contractor that's using part of this for his operations. And KRD owns the property. If we buy it, is he gonna be required to pay us rent?
I believe you're referring to Steve Martin.
Yes.
I believe, and superintendent can correct me if I'm wrong, what he is doing there is storing his salt and sand piles, which are for the purposes of clearing the school lots of snow and ice. Is that correct? And I'm not sure it would be a wise idea to charge him for the storage of materials that are to be used on our own property.
Does he pay for the salt and sand?
Mm-hmm.
Does he pay for the salt and sand, is that supplied by the town?
Certainly, that would be up to the council if you all should vote to do that. I'm just
He
not
pays
sure.
for
I see the wisdom
for
in it.
that project.
No, I just didn't.
Part of his contract.
Any further discussion? There being none, Lisa?
Peter Drappo?
Yes.
Dale Macklin?
Yes.
Jerry Querian?
No.
Ray Karen?
Yes.
Joseph Gravel?
Yes.
Jeff West?
Yes.
Lee Trahan?
Yes.
Passes 6-1. Next item on the agenda is order number 30-2022, providing for authorization for the town manager to consolidate overtime budgets in the police and fire and EMS cost centers into a single overtime line item under each department per the attached list.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Any member of the public wish to speak on this issue? There being none, council discussion? There being none, Lisa?
Peter Drappo?
Yes.
Dale Macklin?
Yes.
Jerry Querian?
Yep.
Ray Karen?
Yes.
Joseph Gravel?
Yes.
Jeff West?
Yes.
Lee Trahan?
Yes.
Passes 7-0. Next item on the agenda is resolution number 31-2022, providing for authorization for the town manager to sign the attached agreement with Maine State Housing for their Maine Water Assistance Program, known as MEWAP.
So moved.
Second? Any member of the public wish to speak on this issue? There being none, council discussion? There being none, Lisa?
Peter Drappo?
Yes.
Dale Macklin?
Yes.
Ray Karen?
Yes.
Joseph Gravel?
Yes.
Jeff West?
Yes.
Lee Trahan?
Yes.
Passes 6-0. Next item on the agenda is resolution number 32-2022, providing for application for an on-premises liquor license renewal for a post 8835 VFW at 175 Veteran Drive in Winslow.
So moved.
Second.
Any member of the public wishing to speak on this issue?
That's public hearing.
There being none?
Public hearing.
That's public hearing.
Any member of the public wish to speak on this issue? There being none, council discussion? There being none, Lisa?
Peter Drapo.
Yes.
Dale Macklin.
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
Abstain.
Abstain. Passes 5-0. Okay, next item is resolution number 33-2022, the approval of an application for a special amusement permit renewal for post 8835 located at the VFW 175 Veteran Drive in Winslow.
So moved.
Second. Any member of the public wishing to speak on this issue? There being none, council discussion? There being none, Lisa?
Peter Drapo.
Yes.
Dale Macklin.
Yes?
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
Abstain.
Passes 5-0. Next item is resolution number 34-2022, providing for United Way Impact 2032 Statement of Endorsement.
So moved.
Second. Is there any member of the public who would like to speak on this issue? There being none, council discussion? There being none, Lisa?
Peter Drapo.
Yes.
Dale Macklin.
Yes?
Jerry Querian, I'm sorry. I did it again. Ray Karen.
Yes.
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
Yes.
Passes 6-0. Okay, next is resolution number 35-2022, providing for an agreement to provide mutual aid to the town of Benton for processing motor vehicle registrations.
So moved.
Second.
Any member of the public wish to speak on this issue? There being none, council discussion? There being none, Lisa?
Peter Drapo.
Yes.
Dale Macklin.
Yes?
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
Yes.
Passes 6-0.
Jerry's Lisa.
I'm sorry?
Back if you get, did you get Jerry on that
Do you
one?
want to be on that one, Jerry? I didn't know if you'd heard it.
Oh, yes, I heard it.
Jerry heard it. Okay, so Jerry is a yes. That makes it 7-0 to pass.
Right.
Next item, resolution number 36-2022, authorization for the town manager to abate unpaid personal property taxes for 6 properties, which totals $948.86.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any member of the public that would like to speak on this issue? There being none, council discussion?
What is this for?
Yeah,
Okay, so there's a list of personal property taxes that are owed back to, the newest one's 2022, but most of them are 2020 and prior.
Okay.
These are businesses that have gone out of business, that we cannot locate the owners, their
Okay.
balances. The highest balance is $284, and in order to actually file suit to try and collect that would cost us more money than it would to abate them.
Okay, I just wanted to hear the fact that they've gone out of business and they're no longer here. Okay, fine. Thank you.
any further discussion? There being none, Lisa?
Peter Drapo.
Yes.
Dale Macklin.
Yes?
Jerry Kurian.
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
Yes.
Passes 7-0. Next up is discussion items. First item is Sunset Heights project phasing.
Paul, Erica?
Paul's the man on this one, so
I think so.
let him take it away.
I brought this up because we are moving along the design phase, Sunset Heights, hoping to get something out to construction in the spring. We need to know from the council what you guys want to spend on phase 1. I mean, we're looking at $17 million project, so, you know, you guys comfortable with $5 or $6 million in the spring, and we size the project accordingly. I kind of need to know that as we move forward. So that's something that you as a council need to decide what you're comfortable with.
Can you explain, Paul, to the public what this project really entails, the scope of it?
This project entails all the storm drains, sewer lines, and the streets in Sunset Heights, which is from Gale Street all the way up to Joe Avenue, Northern Street, everything between basically Cushman Road and the Augusta Road. It's 2.5 miles of street. Sewer lines need to be replaced, storm drains are pretty non-existent, and the roads are falling apart. So to fix the roads, we gotta fix the infrastructure, which includes the last topic we had with the engineers, is we're probably gonna have to put a new outfall to the river and cross the tracks, because the existing drainage under 201 over by the pool place, Aquarius Pools, is not large enough to handle what we're gonna be sending there. So before we wash out a road and the railroad tracks, I wanna start at the bottom and work our way uphill. So that's adding a component to the project we hadn't really thought of. We're gonna be dealing with the railroad, boring under the railroad, definitely a cost to that, but if we don't do it right from we start, 10 years from now, somebody's gonna look at us going, what did we do? You know, when we wash out 201, or my biggest fear is to wash out our sewer main that runs along the river. That wouldn't be a big deal, so. So obviously we can't do it all in 1 year. It's probably gonna be a 3, 4, 5 year project, depending how much money the council wants to spend at one time.
All right?
Yeah, you think it's a 4-year project?
I mean, we could do it in 2, if you wanna spend a lot of money in 2 years.
What's the total cost of the project?
Right now, we started at 15 million, and as they redevelop their project, their plans, and come up with better numbers on the piping, whatever, it's probably gonna go up, and the costs are going up. Materials are going up to contractors, fuel.
So we're gonna have to bond it, obviously.
It's gonna
is
have
that
to be
correct?
bonded. Some of it will be repaid by sewer user fees, some of it will be paid by tax dollars, but at the end of the day, the town is still liable for a $50 million bond. Or
If I may continue just for a
Yes,
second.
right.
To me, just speaking right now, it seems like 2 years would be what we should fund initially. That looked to be about maybe $8 million. If we say we bond it for 2 years for $8 million, that would be
per
this
year.
next summer and the summer after, and then see what the, what
We can.
what
That's
it
why-
is.
that's
I'm
why
just
I'm asking
shooting that
guidance
out
from
as a possibility.
Erica?
One thing and again, I'm not saying that's the wrong answer, I just think everybody needs to keep in mind that that debt load that we put on, we need to make sure that our reserves can cover that so that we actually get a favorable bond on that. And with that, the project that we've got going on with Chaffee Brook, which we know we're also going to have to bond a portion of it, we're gonna be pushing that limit pretty tight, which is why when Paul and I were discussing how we move forward, the thought was maybe we try to cut this up into pieces and say what makes sense, that we could say, you know, the first 5 years, this is the piece we're gonna do, or the first 2 years, this is the piece we're gonna do, and then try to break it up over time so that we weren't trying to bond the entire thing at once. But that's just something to keep in mind as you weigh the pros and cons of how fast we get it done versus what we're able to get in terms of funding to accomplish the work.
What would be, when you guys talk, what would be your recommendation then?
Well, again, we haven't gone out to bond since I've been here, other than the short-term note we took for Benton Avenue. We know we've had numerous discussions in budget about our bond rating being low because we didn't have the fund balance behind it, so we're at an A-, where we want to be at an A++ to get the most favorable rate. It's just like when you go to borrow money in your household. Sometimes you get to a certain point where the bank looks at you and says, well, you're overextended and this is no longer a good risk. So we might give you the money, but your rate's not going to be that great. The only other thing that spreading it out over time gives us some more opportunity for is to continue to apply for more grant money every year. There's going to be more congressional earmark funds coming. I did talk to reps from both Senator Angus and Senator Collins' offices, as well as Representative Pingree's office last week, and all of them are looking for another round of these to be coming forward, and are encouraging us to apply again for more infrastructure monies. So that doesn't necessarily mean that we can't do that afterwards, but the projects that don't have funding yet are gonna be the first ones that get looked at versus those that do. So there's a lot of considerations that go into it. Obviously, as we go forward down the line, nothing ever gets cheaper. So the absolute cheapest answer is to do it all at once. But whether our bond rating can handle it is another question, and I think we'd probably need to consult bond counsel to get some advice on that.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Another thing we have to consider here is the logistics. How much more can we expect of Paul? In the spring, we're starting Chafee Brook for sure. We're starting the stormwater on Robert Street, Cushman Road, China Road, Augusta Road for sure. This is all on his plate. Are you even capable of and let's add insult to injury, they're taking the bridge out.
I'm not building a bridge, I'm fine.
No, I know, but think about the messes we're gonna have in Winslow. I would suggest that we look at Sunset Heights on a 4-year project. I think that makes the most sense for everybody involved and makes it more palatable, doable.
I mean, from my perspective, with the engineers we have, and we have good engineers, on my part, it's not that terrible. They're doing the day-to-day inspections, we just need to keep up with answering, solving the problems, making sure that peer requisitions are done on time, dealing with the residents who have issues, which we've been doing all along on all these other projects anyway.
Are you looking, Peter, to bond the whole project then, all at once?
No.
Or to take it into
I would take it
increments or
into, I would
two-year
take it into
increments?
4 stages.
5, if you have to.
What's that?
Or 5. Spread it out. I
What?
think the
So
first
four
thing.
separate bonds every
That
year?
would be a question that we'd have to bring up with Erica at budget time, but I'm assuming, with our fund balance the way it sits right now, aren't we at least an A+?
We should be pretty good going into next year, and I won't know for sure until we get the CAFR completed,
Okay.
which we're still looking at December timeframe for that, from our auditor. Then we have to our actual rating with any kind of assurance has to come from the bonding agencies. So
Correct.
Moody's, Standard & Poor's
Yep.
would have to evaluate us again because we're looking to go out to bond.
But again, our revenue can substantiate these bonds at the moment.
At this time.
Yeah.
When we're talking about one project, I'm just not sure how it looks when you start having multiple projects. So, and that's where Paul and I were both kind of concerned, and that's where I would like to pull in our bond counsel, Jim Safian, and see, what his thoughts are on this going forward. He's the subject matter expert and could probably give us some guidance. Again, the concern with waiting too long to get things done is how much more is it gonna cost?
Correct.
As we go down the road.
Here's the problem, people. All of these projects we're talking about right now have been postponed and put on the back burner for 20 years. The pipes at Chafee Brook went out in 1999. And we're dealing with it now. Let's not talk about the past, but we have to move forward. And I don't know, I don't see the town being able to substantiate that type of bonding in a 2-year project at Sunset Heights, along with Chafee Brook, along with everything else that's been shoved down our throat.
And we don't have the answers to that yet, Peter, until we do some work on, between now and budget time.
Right.
On what the bonding attorneys say.
I think the direction that the council wants you to take is say, we'll do a 4-year project for the total thing, every year we'll bond, we'll see what the bond is, every year we'll bond a fourth of the project,
Or see what the bonding.
see what the bond rating is.
See
but
what the
goal
bonding
would
attorney
be-
says too,
The
Rick.
goal would be to finish the project in 4 years.
Correct.
And to bond for that if possible through,
The bonding authorities might say, no, you're better off to do 2 bonds,
Well, what we know is we can't do it in 1 year.
No,
There's no way in hell we're gonna do it in 1 year.
no.
2 years.
You can't hire
2
contractors
years
to
might be
do it in 1
pushing
year.
it. 3 years, be
Even
more
2 years might be
realistic.
hard with the size of the
let's
project.
do 4 years and just try to get it done in 4 years and see what the bonding is for, the goal is for 4-year project completion, and the goal is to bond that whatever way we can that
Right.
makes the most sense.
I'm sure they can give us options.
Yeah.
on-
We might not be
What's
able to
on-
bond the
what's
whole
on the
project,
budget?
it might be 5 years because we can't get the money. We'll just have to wait and see that when
That's why I
she
wanted to
comes
go
back
out
to us.
tonight, because I want to try to start giving direction to the engineers of, well, don't look at that side of the project, let's
Well, I
come up
think
with
it's safe to
something.
say, Paul, that it won't be 1 year,
No.
probably not 2, at least 3.
When is, the Ryan Pierce,
Yes.
when is Ryan Pierce gonna have a fairly good estimate?
Their estimate right now is probably 80%. I mean, they've got options, and that's what we had a meeting last week, trying to figure out where we're sending water, where we're sending, determines the size of the piping. The bigger the piping, the more expensive, so if we can reduce some of the piping sizes. But at the end of the day, all the water's going downhill from Cushman Road down to the Augusta Road. We gotta make sure it can cross the Augusta Road safely and not take something out on the way, so.
Just so people know, Paul, that the Cushman Road project, Robert Street, that's to solve all the flooding that's been going on at Cumberland Farms, Closed Market, and whatever.
The majority of it
That
is.
we had a month ago,
Yes,
or whatever.
the
it was.
majority of it is part of this project with Sunset Heights is gonna also address that, because we've got some drainage on Joe Ave that goes in behind, like Mr. LaFountain's property that ends up in that same street.
And the fortunate part about the Cushman Road, Robert Street one is that is the $2.7 million grant. We only had a 5% match on that, so we need to come up with less than $200,000, which is our standard. We have that in storm sewer capital at this point, so.
So does that give you what you need for an answer?
Well, one of the other things,
Somewhat, I mean, if we divide it in 4 years, then we
Talk to
figure out,
Bonnie.
$4 million a year, or $4 or $5 million to start with, and then.
I think a minimum of 4 years.
5 different alternatives.
so what's our possible interest rates? Since the Feds have been jumping it up fast.
Again, it will be more than it has been. We got our last one at 1.5%, which was great. It's definitely not going to be 1.5% again under the current.
To reprogram at least.
Probably 5 or
Yeah.
6.
Probably not as high as 5 or 6. That's more private sector rates, but, we won't know for sure until we go to look for it, but I was told to expect at least going up to around 2 to 3%, so that's a lot higher interest than what we've been paying, so. And, there again, there's another little wrinkle. Where do we anticipate those interest rates going in the next 5 years? If they come down and we've already bonded out at a higher rate and now the rates are lower, there's just a lot of moving parts, and that's why I'm saying that bond counsel should probably give us some guidance as to what options are on the table, what ways could we look to go, and what, they would pick as option number 1, 2, and 3 for us and say, this is what we would do, this is the guidance that we would give you. So, there's a lot of possibilities coming down the road. But I think for what Paul needs to do with the engineers is we need to be able to tell them, this is the first area that we're going to focus on. So if we're saying it's a 4-year project right now that we anticipate, we could say the first year, this is the quarter of the project that we're hoping to address and have them concentrate on that piece. Moving forward, and then I can still be working on getting more information from bond counsel going forward for budget.
Well, I would recommend or suggest that maybe the council can say at least 3 years, maybe as many as 4.
I would say 4 to
Is that what you
5.
need, Paul, for an answer?
I'd go with
3 or 4?
4?
4?
Because we're gonna have other projects coming up.
Yeah.
We always do. I mean, I wasn't expecting a
Base it on
complete
4 and
firm
see what
decision
your
tonight, but I just
Yeah.
need some guidance where we're going.
Well, we can leave it at 4 then.
4.
Mhm.
That works.
Okay. Thank you, Paul.
See if you can clone yourself.
Next item under discussion is notary services.
And that is actually yours.
It kind of is, I guess. So, the town office, we get a lot of requests for notary services. There is one notary in the front office, and then on our end of the building, there are 3 of us that can do it. On average, I would say we probably receive at least 1 to 2 a day, which doesn't sound like a lot, but depending on the documents, it can be time consuming. As long as I've been here and prior to me, it's always been a service provided to the residents at no charge. And it has come up recently that some other towns are charging, and should we consider doing that as well? And you could, it varies. Some towns go as high as $5 per document, and some are like $2 or $3, so it varies. But it's something that recently was discussed within the office because we're seeing an increase in it.
Council? My thoughts are this, to be honest with you. Is the expense that great that it's not a service that we can't provide for our citizens? And there are most people who require the notary, people that don't want to go. If it's business-wise, they'll go to their bank or their attorney. It's more or less miscellaneous type documents.
Now,
or-
we see everything from living wills to
that's not the
district
thing.
court papers. It can be anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Through the chair, we were talking though about this being for non-residents, not for Winslow residents.
Oh, that's different. Laudable charges Winslow, I can tell you that.
It was kind of both. I mean, the majority of people that we see, it's Winslow. But there are a few that trickle through that are not.
Peter?
Through the chair, I believe to our residents we should provide this service. Okay? I mean, we've got enough on our plate with raising taxes to pay for these projects that have been shoved down our throats. But that all being said, to our residents, let's continue doing that. But to non-residents, I think there should be some sort of a fee charged. Because Winslow Town Office is handier than their, where they live or do business.
I think a survey will find that most towns charge out-of-town residents. And I'm pretty sure of that.
And I don't know what that fee should be. Bill, what do people usually get to notarize? Do you have any idea?
No, I don't.
I can tell you what I paid last on an emergency
It can be
basis
expensive.
out of town was $5 to get one page notarized real quick.
Who would complain about that?
Well, I don't know.
That's my thought process. To our citizens, continue status quo, and anybody out of town charge a fee, and I think that fee should be administered through Erica, a decision to make, Erica and Lisa.
I believe if the council is in favor of doing this, we have to put it on the agenda for a vote next
Okay.
time, because really, normally fees is something we would determine during the budget, so this is basically an off-budget cycle fee implementation unless you wanted to wait for the new budget.
No, we're only talking only talking until July.
Yeah.
Before the new
I'm
budget
thinking
will go
next
in.
month's budget.
We'll just put it on next month's agenda.
Either way.
Yeah, come up with a fee you guys are comfortable with, that you feel is fair to everybody.
For non-residents only.
Non-residents only, correct.
So Lisa, would you be able to research what other towns are charging
Absolutely.
non-residents?
Okay, next item.
That's it for the regular agenda.
Yes. Next up is executive session. And we need a motion to enter into executive session pursuant to 1 MRSA subsection 4056A personnel matters.
So moved.
Second.
Peter, second.
Take it up.